anywhere.
We were there for them.
Yes, and I agree with you 100%. I agree with you when we involve staff members in our decision and also include them in our in decision making and include them in what is happening in the organization. That creates some form of, you know, I'm not going anywhere. So this is where I'm going to be. So thank you, Ms. Amatola. Thank you, guys. Let us do a quick review now. So we have touched on the soft skills that is here. As I said before, this list is just a few of the things. I tried to identify the most important ones and, you know, that we could come here and discuss. So we look on the effective communication, how important it is in an organization that we communicate effectively and efficiently to individuals and timely as well, because you would want to know that if anything that is happening in the organization, you are equipped with that knowledge, and therefore you're not going to get second or third information, which might be a deterrent to you, the individual, as well as, you know, to kind of throw you off what is happening within the organization. We also look on of being empathetic to individual, not sympathetic, because, you know, we are human beings, and as females I normally tell persons that we have this motherly instinct and we're quick to feel sorry for persons, but not be sympathetic, but empathize with what the individual is going through, understand what the organization needs, understand what individuals are going through, and then we can align them with what, but not just being a professional, but we also have to be in, you know, our interpersonal skills. Conflict resolution. How do we deal with conflict? Do we resolve conflict effectively? Are we in a position to take sides? I think it was Tishana who said it. You can correct me if I'm wrong, or I can't remember. How do we resolve conflict? Is it because myself? No, it was Jacqueline who said that. Who said, based on if the person is a friend or family, do we separate? How do we separate it to resolve conflict? How do we align the personal and professional behavior in the organization, and how we separate the two? Because myself and somebody can be good friends within the organization, but I should also understand that we are employees within the organization, and therefore we should separate our friendship from what is happening, our professional behavior. We also looked at adaptability, how easily it is for professions, HR professions, individuals within the organization, how best it is to adapt to situation. So say, for instance, you're working in a production firm and two machinery break down. You must be able to identify either does it need a part, or do you need a new machine? You should be able to identify that is what is needed, and you can, you know, instantly jump into action and replace it. Or if you're in an environment that depicts that you need to put on another hat to perform the task, you should be able to adapt to that situation. Problem solving is similar to conflict resolution. How is it that we solve problems within the entity? We should be able to solve it so that each party is appreciative and they accept the solution. Ethical decision making. You notice all of them are still interrelated. If I'm going to make a decision, it should not be one-sided. If 2 or 3 parties, we should ensure that all parties know their roles and responsibilities as it relates to whatever conflict or whatever problem. And so the decision should be laid that when it is completed, I said, yes, this is what is done. It is the right decision. We also should look at emotional intelligence within an organization. We can't just be holding our heads high, walking on the corridors or walking from office to office, not understanding that maybe our secretary is sitting there from morning until night and not even a glass of water. Identify that other individuals might be going through things without them opening their mouths and say anything to us. We must be creative. We must be confident. We should be confident. In confidentiality should be relayed right across the organization. If it is that I come to you with something that I don't want somebody else to know, it should stay here, and I should be confident in myself in knowing that it is not going to be relayed. Mentoring. That is what we're here for. You have staff members who depend on you, who look up to you. We must be mindful of how we operate, so we act within the space that we are in from 8 to 5. Time management skills is one of the most important things. As stated, not everything is not important, but time management, because if you don't manage your time when you're doing work, then you are going to be confused, you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be annoyed, and therefore you're going to cause anarchy within the organization. Is there anything that needs to be said further? No?
Nope.
All right, so this is the open discussion. So the other thing, so that one was about soft skills in HR and the importance of soft skills in HR. And we have discussed, so the other topic, oh Lord, I'm sorry. The other topic is improve staff morale in 2024, merging company and employee priorities. Who wants to take up that one? Ooh, what's happening here? Tishana?
Yeah,
HR.
man, I'm here.
Right. So how do we
improving.
improve staff morale in 20? Well, I would love to know beyond 2024, but since 2024 is the new year, how do we improve staff morale in 2024? And how do we identify companies and merge it with employee priorities or vice versa?
I think first we need to know what are the priorities for each of the groups, because they're coming from two different places. So once we understand what those priorities are and what the needs are. Um, and I guess this new thing for me is basically ask what do you need? So surveys and other means of getting information is very important here. What does the employee um think they need to boost morale? Um, because sometimes in our HR space, we kind of think that, oh, doing this or doing this team building thing or doing this is what they really need when that they need something else. So it would be good to ask what those are. Come up after that now with that information in mind. Come up with some creative things. So you did list some, which is like recognition programs, and ensure that you're recognizing persons fairly. Ensure that employees have a say in um, who is also being recognized. An issue that I'm currently having with our rewards and recognition program is that the managers nominate who they on their teams for employee of the year and stuff like that. But for some reason, when that is communicated to the staff, it's it's like that they don't see it. And at first I thought it was maybe jealousy or just people being difficult as sometimes people are. But they genuinely don't see how is it that the manager could select this person over and they're not recommending themselves, they're recommending somebody else, and they actually have they're actually giving reasons as to why this person shouldn't get it and why these next person should be even considered for it. So we have to look into how we look about rewarding people, ensure that it's based on something that is, I wouldn't say tangible, but measurable.
Measurable,
Or
yes.
yeah, and I will also get the buy-in from the rest of the team, because always bigging up somebody and the team itself don't think that, well, you couldn't have done this without the rest of the team or without this particular person or input, kind of, it actually has a negative effect. Um, and that also have the whole communication thing in there where you need to clearly communicate what is it that you need, what is it that you want, how you want it, and so that's from the employer side, and the employee should also do the same and ensure that I know what I'm here to do, not just from the job description standpoint, but I understand what my role means to the greater organization and how it contributes to the strategic objectives of the organization and so forth. And ensuring as HR practitioners, we need to ensure that the individuals are not just HR practitioners, but managers and supervisors ensure that each individuals on our teams knows that this small task, this large task, whatever you are assigned to do, the value of it and the importance of it, and how it applies and contribute to the whole. And just stuff like that, ensure that you just communication. I think communication is one of the biggest things. Communicating clearly, timely, and once persons have information, you will have less conflicts in the workplace. So I hope that helps.
It help a whole lot because me feel like now me feel just lock down because you cover everything. But notwithstanding that, ladies, thank you so much, Tishana, for that very insightful response. We also need to look on the priorities of the company. So I want to ask a question. Do you think that on a yearly, since as we're looking at the year 2024, do you think it is the company's responsibility to ensure that they put in effect new changes to ensure that the mandate is fulfilled, and also to include employees' contribution to the listing? Do you think that is so? Anybody can respond. Yes, Tisha.
Yes, I do.
Yes, they do. So, in other words, we have, how can we continue to improve staff morale? Tishana says recognition programs, establish clear communication channels, because as individuals, sometimes we're the one, I think it was Samantha, who Samantha said she just wanted for done. She wanted me to call her. And
good morning, Sophia. How are you? Or good day.
Fine.
Okay. Sorry, I'm eating while I'm talking to you. Thing there, on Thursday, can you bring your daughter along?
Miss Hall. Okay. All right. So where was I? Establish clear. Okay, so it was Samantha who said she wanted me to call her. Sometimes we have some employees within our midst. They want to say something, but they are fearful of the action that is going to be. And so to also improve staff morale, we need to include our staff, our employees into the decision making. You agree, right? Because sometimes as managers, we are steadfast. We get a sheet of paper, and it is true, we get a sheet of paper and this is what we should do. This is what must be done for the greater good of the organization. And so we are like, we're moving in that direction because this is what needs to be done and this is what we need to do, fulfill the mandate. But there are times when you have a little employee around there, so a person who doesn't speak. Yes, Jackie, I saw you, so I'll soon call you. And you have a little employee around the back there, and that employee have so much ideas, but guess what? Because nobody has ever given that employee the recognition that they deserve, they're so timid within their own corner. And so one of the things that we need to improve or to let people understand themselves and appreciate them is to involve them, include them in our decision making, include them in some of the things that are happening within the organization. Tell us how you feel about this. What are your suggestions? And this can be done either in a setting, one-on-one setting, or it can be done in a staff meeting, etc. Yes, Jackie?
All right, it is not necessarily based on those points that have been shared thus far. But I just wanted to touch on the investment in professional development. There are a lot of cases where individuals are not performing, not because they don't want to, but they don't necessarily have the skill set to do that. And what it does is, if it is that they're still operating in this space, still trying to do this thing, they're not provided with the support, whether it be professional development that comes from internal sources or external sources like training, etc., then that will affect how they feel, it will affect the overall performance, it will affect morale. Persons need to know that you are willing to invest in them, invest in their development, and they in turn will add value to the entity. I
Exactly.
have noticed in interviews I've been in recently that a lot, and this is a lot of different interviews, and I noticed what persons have been asking, what is it that, how does the organization treat with professional development? No, that is not something that I would normally hear people asking, but employees are now asking it up front. What are you going, how are you going to be willing to invest in my development so I can in turn offer even more to the entity?
But
So it's a
Jackie,
it's a very important aspect. Yes.
it is a very important aspect, but can
Mm-hmm.
I just be the devil's advocate here? Because I've heard and I've been in meetings where people will say, listen, I'm not going to invest totally in this individual if we understand that the person is going to be with the organization for a number of years. Because quite rightly so, apart from the government entities that bonds individual after they have invested in them career, furthering their education, as soon as they get what they want, they leave the company. So I understand the concern as an employee, because I would want to know, how is it that you're going to invest me, since as you want so much from me, what it is that you're going to offer me apart from the salaries and compensation and maybe some other benefits. How is it that I'm going to look 10 years down the line, I'm going to say, yes, this is where I want to be. So I understand what you're saying, but you also look on the flip side of the entity who is saying they don't want to invest all of this time and effort and money into an individual who is going to separate from the organization in short order. How would you deal with a situation like that, Jackie?
All right. I have the one of the sessions we were in with Miss Corodas yesterday. One of the things that she discussed, it wasn't centered on this, but this aspect came into the discussion. And one of the things she was talking about is flexibility in terms of, okay, you have these individuals who may require training. For example, overseas programs. There are a lot of persons who would want to be involved in overseas programs. They want to be involved because of the sort of money that they would earn, as opposed to staying here and working maybe in their substantive positions. But a lot of these individuals wouldn't mind being able to go work for a time and then be able to come back to their country and be able to contribute, whether in their substantive post or another, but they have that security that there will be this employment opportunity when they return. And she mentioned the fact that you can't stop individuals from leaving. But what you can do is create an environment where you can have skill sharing, workforce sharing, whether it be internationally or even in the local market. I think it's kind of a revolutionary thought, but I think it's something worthwhile. And one of the ways I would deal with it is because we have that very real situation, and we're an entity that requires specialized skills. So when we lose some of these specialized skills, individuals with these skills, it affects us. So one of the things I think is you need to understand what it is that persons want, because why is it that they would be willing to leave your organization to go elsewhere?